All online, private and secure at fairheal.com. Fairheal.com. The cost is reasonable, but you only pay if you qualify. And the proceeds goes to the fight for cannabis justice. Ready to try it? Fairhill is ready to help. Fairhill.com.
All these chicken cheddar ranch sandwiches are 2 for $6 every day of the week. For some people, just hearing the words ranch and chicken are enough to make them want 2 of them for $6. Well, okay then. Ranch, 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 creamy, ranch, cool, ranch, chicken, chicken. 2 for $6. All these, we have the meat.
Never just been on for a long time. Pretty boy, social construction and rocket ride at 21 Rocket Off Missouri, Sunday, June 26th. Sleeves best. Tickets available at ticketlead.com. That's ticketlead.com.
Right now, there's nothing standing in your way of owning the piece of jewelry you've been dreaming of. No down payment and no finance charges for 5 whole years on any purchase. Take the amazing Diamonds Direct price you're used to, divide by 60 months at your payment. It's a smart way to keep your money on fire and still add that amazing ring, band, or bracelet to your collection. Even the upgrade you've been wanting. 5 years, 0 interest on any purchase. Own that at Diamonds Direct. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
You know the University of Missouri St. Louis offers affordable, short-term training programs designed to enhance your technical skills. UMSL's Computer Education and Training Center offers you basic, intermediate, or advanced coursework to improve your technical know-how and expertise. Enroll now to increase your work productivity and career opportunity. UMSL's interactive courses are offered in fully online and in-person formats in areas like data analysis, Power BI, Excel, SharePoint, SQL.
We've seen some governors sort of banding together. How are governors and lawmakers across the country preparing to address this?
Alexa,
Right, so yes, you mentioned
play some music from Cat Stevens.
Several states, so we know that there are
Shuffling songs by Cat Stevens on
by
Amazon
this
Music.
ruling. There are lots of states that we know that are going to follow because there are lots of Republican states. Again, when I looked at all these different states, how they're moving, they're going to move really quickly to enforce some of these more strict restrictions on abortion care. At the same time, we're seeing Democrats do the exact opposite. They are pledging to defend access to abortion care in their states, not only for residents, but also for women who might be seeking care from elsewhere. We saw in California, Washington, Oregon, those governors banding together saying that they are going to provide abortion care and also try to find ways to prevent women from being punished in their home states for seeking abortion elsewhere.
And we're expecting changes in about half the states across the country. This shows how divided people are on this issue. Avery, thank you so much. It's always been appreciated.
Hi guys. Wrong with it, huh? Yeah, I still got it for a flat top. You still got it for a flat top. Oh, I can't seem to keep my head straight.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or
I
feet?
exercise this morning.
Introducing Revive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 solid nerve care company. As we age, natural changes to our nerves occur, which can lead to occasional discomfort. Revive contains B-complex vitamins that nourish nerves, build nerve insulation, and enhance nerve communication. and alpha-lipoic acid, which relieves occasional nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort.
Sure.
Live your life
Sure.
with nice nerve
I mean,
discomfort.
seriously.
Survive nerve relief.
Google
That's
Pixel,
all the
el
place.
único teléfono hecho por Google, con la cámara que ve la oscuridad. Ve todos los
If you don't want to
conocimientos
can't see this,
y arregla tus fotos mágicamente. Literalmente, Google Pixel, para todo lo que es.
why criticize?
And you win the lawsuit, and everybody knows
Like,
how
if you want to like, whatever,
Gosh, it's been forever.
communicate, can't see.
You look fantastic.
Criticize.
You're not telling.
What they got to help?
Everyone on your skin?
Ah, the struggling actor who didn't think he could save a snapshot based on how and how much he drives.
I'd love to talk about it
So
over
you're
there
helpful,
sometime.
critical.
Well, I usually don't talk on the phone during dinner, but for potential customer Tom Ham, I will make an exception.
Possibility of decades in
You don't
prison.
want mine.
Now, we take you inside
I don't
the
know how to say
courtroom
his name.
and
You
behind
say-
the scenes. The
You don't want him to
Dropout,
help you.
Elizabeth Holmes on Trial. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
You want to be famous for some art guy? You're trying to like isolate him? You know, right?
most watched, most trusted,
You really don't.
and streaming live TV anytime.
So you remember the 60s and the 70s.
This is
They're trying to keep
News
like
Live.
socialists and Tories out there with them.
24/7.
That's why you got all
Watch
these
America's
political
number one
rivalry
news
games.
whenever you want.
Because people time this one.
Anytime.
You're just supposed to be like a major, political party
On
in Canada.
all platforms.
National parks are
A
incredibly
major,
safe
like,
places,
figure.
but crime will happen.
He's been really critical to me.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic
Well, the
accident.
downside is you're trying to be people leaders.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to
There were
just
small
like
things
represent
that
us.
didn't totally add up. This is too
They're all
much for
trying to
your
help.
You're gonna die now. I was
They're not the only people leaders.
not right.
Constitution says you're supposed to elect your representative, you're supposed to be in your service. Government's a service, they're in your service. You're supposed to write that. Why?
Hey, it's Brad Milkey, host of ABC's Daily Podcast Start Here, and by now you know the
That's
Supreme
a
Court came out this
problem.
morning with one of its biggest decisions in the last 50 years. In a landmark ruling, 5 conservative justices said the precedent of Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided. And no matter where you stand, this is going to impact a lot of American facets of life, from health to politics to the future of work and poverty in this country. But today,
We really don't have
Start
natural
here
resources.
with what we know. And to do that, we have Kate Shaw. She is
Well, we
ABC's
don't want
Supreme
to
Court
die.
contributor.
We want
She
to
was a clerk on the Supreme Court under Justice Stevens. She is now a law professor at Cardozo Law School. And here she is.
They keep saying we want more
Real
artificial
quick, can you just describe this decision?
stuff,
Because we
oil-based
were really kind
products.
of two decisions here, right?
That's right, Brad.
What do you
So
want?
the majority of people
They're all
agree with
carcinogenic.
Justice Alito.
Oil is
Very
carcinogenic.
different. The
It
version
causes
of that same opinion
Sorry,
that we saw early last month. So it's a majority opinion upholding Mississippi law, advance abortion after 15 weeks.
So every time you say word,
And the
you want more
opinion
than
goes much further than just
I'm
upholding
thinking the
Mississippi
same
law.
person
It
does.
also overrules Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey, finds that the Constitution does not protect the right to access
Awful same
abortion.
person.
So that's, an enormous opinion overruling this nearly 50-year-old precedent. And it's both a famous Supreme Court case, a famously divisive Supreme Court case, and an incredibly
Because
important
people are-
case in that it has been in the
You better get out of
background
tree
again
level.
for nearly half a century as Americans,
Going
both
retired.
men and women, kind of went about their lives, made decisions about school and jobs and geography and all manner of other things, kind of with this background knowledge
We make,
that if
tree
they
level pretty
needed
long.
to, if contraception failed, or if they got pregnant and wanted pregnancy, but there was some very serious fetal anomaly
Or make
detected,
tires.
they would have the choice
They
to
say they got
decide to
synthetic
access abortion.
They still
And
make
so
tires.
all of that is now wiped away as a matter of constitutional law in this Alito opinion. And now, as you said, there is another opinion, Chief Justice Roberts,
They're saying, we're gonna
agreeing that
reminisce
the
about what
Mississippi
it was
law
like when we
banning
did.
abortions after 15
Which
weeks
one's
was
higher?
fine, was
That's-
constitutional,
We don't
but he
mention.
wouldn't have gone as far as the Alito
There's
opinion
pretty
did
big hills
in
here.
overruling
It's pretty high
Roe
speed
v. Casey,
limits.
because
We don't
Roberts said,
like
well,
those.
you don't need to decide
Well,
whether
those
this
nice
case
people
should
wanna
be
do
discarded. Those
Those
things
backs.
can be, saved for another day.
So Roberts is like the 4 and the 5-4 decision, but that means this still goes ahead, right? Roe is
It loves right
gone.
away.
The Alito
You can't just like say
opinion
ocean,
and the Roberts
Just like,
concurrence
no beach.
is just a concurrence by a 6th justice, right? So there are 5 votes that in full join the Alito majority opinion, and so Roe, there's no question about how that works in this case. Roe is gone, the Alito majority opinion is the law of the land.
Well, and I want to get to that logically really quick. First of all, what does this mean practically? Because there were several states that had basically issued abortion bans that they were only unconstitutional because of the precedents. Well, the precedents are gone. So is abortion illegal starting right now in certain states?
In a matter of days or weeks, yes,
on McDonald's,
there's some
sack of fries,
in terms of the court has to actually issue in a formal way
and/or
a mandate
fish,
from its
and
opinion,
pies.
virtually
Pies,
immediately
and/or
in
fish.
a little over half of the states.
Somebody
right?
says,
So
hey, bring us
26
some
states
sodas too.
either have what are called trigger laws, so laws that are specifically written to go into effect.
I can really hug
Returned,
a bag of
or
fries,
have
pies,
passed laws that violate
burgers.
Roe, and courts have struck
I can
those
really hug
down,
that.
but that won't
I can
hold.
really get that
And so
home.
that litigation will be reopened if those
It's
laws
fake.
presumably be again
It's hard
enforceable.
to
So, and then there are a few states that
And
have
it's warm
said
too.
they're gonna ban abortion or severely restricted,
Oh,
but
yeah.
haven't yet done that. So when, the dust settles,
I'm
it's
riding
gonna
home
be
free.
just
I'm riding up there
how
free.
many
And then
states
home
where
free.
abortion is either severely restricted or not available at all.
So huge change
Somebody goes
here.
by.
What is the rationale
Hey,
from
but
the
it's a
Supreme
soda
Court?
too.
Like, what is the
Put those,
actual
cardboard.
basis for this decision? Because you don't just go overturning precedents willy-nilly. That's, I think, the court rarely does.
Well, they're not supposed to. This sort of really old and really conservative court is definitely more, willing to overturn precedents than
Oh, it is?
previously have been.
She wants that.
But it's right, the court ordinarily adheres to its precedents. That's the doctrine of stare decisis. But what Alito says here is that Roe and Casey were egregiously wrong. They were wrong from the start, and they have, basically proven unworkable and unprincipled. And the decision whether to permit or to prohibit abortion should be returned to the states. And basically what Alito is saying is the Constitution doesn't say the word abortion. Not that surprising, it's a short document. There's lots of things the Constitution doesn't explicitly mention. But when deciding whether something that is unenumerated, right, not explicitly in the Constitution, is nevertheless protected by it, we have to look at whether that right that's being asserted is deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition. And so there's a lot of canvassing of history, just as our gun case earlier this week involved a lot of those analysis of historical materials. And Alito basically says we don't have a tradition in this country of protecting abortion, and therefore the kind of broad terms of the Constitution, things like liberty and equality, shouldn't be understood to protect abortion. Now, I should say, as to that method, the dissent, which is jointly authored by Justices Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, I think has a pretty effective response, which is, if it's the case that basically anytime you're trying to figure out what the Constitution does, you have to just look at history, it's not that surprising. People responsible for drafting the original Constitution and also the 14th Amendment Constitution in 1868, they didn't perceive women as full political equals. They did not recognize women's rights. So when the majority says we have to basically look at the foundational charter, the Constitution, as it was understood when it was drafted and ratified, we're basically going to be forever consigning women to second-class citizenship because history did that.
If you're relying on a few dozen old white dudes, yeah, exactly.
No, they didn't. They did not believe women possessed the right to decide for themselves whether to become parents. And it's not clear why that should bind us today. And yet that's what the majority basically says is required when deciding whether something that's not explicitly in the Constitution is protected by it.
What's going to happen for women, starting, you said days or perhaps weeks in certain states?
Okay, I
What's going to happen for women who
combo.
want to get an abortion and now find it illegal?
I think that there are, a bunch of different answers to that question, Brad. I mean, one, women with money, with resources, with the flexibility to take time off work and secure childcare for their other children, right? We should say that statistically, most women who seek out abortion care are already parents, much of the time, right, trying to get abortions so that they can financially, emotionally, and otherwise care for their existing children. So if people have the ability to do all those things, they can travel to another state. Abortion will remain legal in about half of the states. But, some states are already moving to try to prohibit women from even leaving their states to access abortion. Now, there's a real question about whether that would be enforceable. And actually, importantly, Justice Kavanaugh, who has a short separate concurrence, seems to go out of his way to say that he would be unlikely to uphold such a ban. He would say a ban like that would be inconsistent with the right to travel. which actually, by the way, isn't actually in the Constitution explicitly either, but there's a selectivity in terms of recognizing unenumerated rights. But that's, right now, at least travel to access abortion care elsewhere will be available to women with means. Some people will seek to access, self-managed abortion care, which carries certain medical risks if it's being done completely independently. There are, we should say, when Roe was decided in 1973, there was no ability to access what's called medication abortion. Right? This is now mostly done via just like a 2-pill, regimen where you can induce an orderly abortion up to about 10 weeks of pregnancy. Those pills can be prescribed by pill. That's a recent change. And so there will be an ability to access those pills. Some states may seek to make it difficult for those to do that.
I was going to say, does this now open the door to things that we've considered kind of mainstream for the last several decades because of Roe? Like birth control, fertilized eggs, IVF, parents that have kids from IVF, you're dealing with embryos that are sometimes tossed out. Is all that on the table now?
I think absolutely. Now, look, the majority opinion says we're just talking about abortion. We're not talking about things like contraception or other constitutional pieces that involve, the regulation of intimate life or same-sex marriage. Alito says none of that is really in doubt as a result of this opinion. And yet, the method I just described, is there a history and tradition of recognizing right when it comes to same-sex marriage? Of course not. And so there's no real reason that I think we should take Alito at his word when he says this opinion doesn't call into doubt any of those precedents. And there's a separate concurrence by Clarence Thomas who explicitly says the court should revisit and should overrule cases like Rockefeller, the same-sex marriage case, and Griswold, a constitutional decision that predates Roe that holds the Constitution protects the right to access contraception. The majority doesn't talk about IVF, but of course the same question seemed to be presented. If a state wanted to totally ban IVF on the grounds that the destruction of embryos is, often involved in it seems like the logic of this opinion would suggest that a state would be able to do that. So I think that many issues other than abortion are thrown into question by this decision.
And last question for you. So far, we've only been talking about, this is now a states' rights issue, right? States can do what they want. If you abortions in your state, fine. If you don't, that's now also fine. But former Vice President Mike Pence said in his statement this morning, quote, having been given the second chance for life, we must not rest. We must not relent until the sanctity of life is restored to the center of American law in every state in the land. Is there a world in which this extends to blue states as well? Could there be a national abortion ban under a Republican Congress or something?
In a word, yes. I mean, at least the Congress, if the president try. I mean, there are questions about whether Congress always needs to have a constitutional basis if it's going to pass a law. So whether how would it pass such a law? It's called the Congress clause, and there would be questions about whether that power justify a nationwide abortion ban. But the reason a ban like that was never conceivable before was because Roe was on the books, right? Roe said you couldn't do that. Roe is now gone. So Congress could absolutely try. And I would expect that if there is, a triumvirate, right, Republican control of both houses of Congress and the White House, I would expect that we will see efforts to do this, potentially even enact maybe not probably initially, but maybe a 16-week or a 12-week or some real limitation that would apply nationwide on the ability to access abortion. And, you could also imagine something that would go even further than that would be, the court finding, not only that states can permit or prohibit abortion, but that a fetus has a constitutionally protected right, basically, to life, so that no state constitution would permit abortion. So that would be a different kind of endgame than if Congress passed a law, Congress could repeal that law, right? That would, fix forever the status of abortion nationwide. But as a result, the constitutional impermissibility of abortion would obviously have a different force. Wouldn't settle the question forever because, as we just saw, in these prior cases, that's another, I think, long-term possibility that people should bear in mind. Right? The bottom line for that is that this is an incredibly conservative
Brand
and
new
really
mold,
old
like
Supreme
brand
Court.
house.
As we've seen in the last 2 days,
Dark
this is
black.
a court that has fundamentally changed some pretty important aspects of American life. You know, just in the course of 48 hours, it's going to be much
So they didn't have
to
a
carry a
problem.
gun around the major American city.
Small thing in your
And
respiratory on
much harder and in some cases impossible to access a legal abortion in about half of the country. And they're not even done for this term.
A huge decision here. We will have a lot more on Monday morning with what you can expect going forward, with how states are reacting to this. All of that will be in play. You can start here wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Brad Milkey. See you later.
¿Qué lleva ese guacamole? Es la receta de mi abuela. Lleva cebolla, tomate, aguacate y no puedo revelar. Muchos años atrás, en una noche fría y oscura, le hice un juramento a mi abuela que nunca revelaría sus ingredientes secretos. Yo juro que descubriré el secreto de tu abuela.
Los secretos de familia son dramáticos. Elegir tu compañía de seguros no debería hacerlo. Cámbiate a Geico hoy mismo para ver todas las maneras en las que puedes ahorrar.
And I slept. We gave ZzzQuil Pure Z's restorative herbal sleep to people who were tired of being tired.
I've never slept like this before. Never woken up like this before. I feel like doing things. And then doing other things after those things.
It's hard to explain. Just crafted with clinically studied plant-based ingredients that work naturally with your body.
Oh, they could.
For restorative sleep like never before.
I've been telling everyone, the secret to great teeth is having healthy gums.
Keep yours healthy with Crest Advanced Gum Restore. It's clinically proven to detoxify below the gum line. And it restores by helping heal gums in as little as 7 days.
Because you can't have a healthy smile without healthy gums.
Advanced Gum Restore from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America.
What makes Febreze Carpet Clutch different? Febreze has steady release technology. Just click, install, and boom! Febreze uses your fan to circulate freshness that won't overwhelm or fade for up to 40 days of consistent scent. Febreze Car.
It's not just about finding the bra that fits. It's about finding the bra that fits you. Count on all the top brands for going out, getting away, or catching some me time. Kohl's. One-of-a-kind pieces made by hand. Live in Richmond at sea. One-of-a-kind pieces made by hand. Live in Richmond at sea.
You can trust us. This is about how to move from victim to survivor.
The detective says he confessed to abuse. I know all I had to prove to people that was abuse. I was free.
The deeper you go into the black market, the darker it gets. On National Geographic.
Good morning, America. Happy Saturday morning to you. Glad you're starting your weekend with us. But of course, a lot to follow. In the hour since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, abortion bans have gone into effect in 7 states. That number is likely to rise as other states act on trigger laws designed to go into effect at some point after the High Court ruling.
And overnight, supporters of abortion rights filled the streets in many cities. This video showing police clashing with protesters in Los Angeles. Others gathered outside the home of Justice Clarence Thomas, while anti-abortion rights backers also demonstrated in celebration.
The ruling is at odds with the opinions of most Americans, at least according to an ABC News Washington Post poll released just before the leak of the draft Supreme Court ruling. The survey suggesting that most Americans favored upholding Roe, keeping abortion legal in all or most cases, and that the decision should be left up to a woman and her doctor. We'll start our coverage with ABC's Terry Moran at the Supreme Court. Good morning to you, Terry.
Good morning, Eva. It's a new day in America for women in this country who have lost a constitutional right first recognized 50 years ago. For the millions of Americans who fought for decades to end that right, and many of those now feel that their prayers have been answered, and for the Supreme Court and its newly emboldened activist conservative majority. This morning, shockwaves across the country in a sweeping ruling that overturned a half a century of precedents. 5 justices ended the right of American women to choose abortion under the Constitution. The monumental decision now leaves the issue up to the 50 states. The Supreme Court Friday overturning Roe versus Wade. The much-anticipated ruling upheld Mississippi's ban on abortions after 15 weeks by a vote of 6-3, with 5 of the conservative justices also voting to overturn Roe. Justice Samuel Alito writing in the majority opinion that the Constitution makes no reference to abortion and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. The monumental decision now leaves the issue up to the 50 states. The decision handed down more than 8 weeks after that unprecedented leak of a draft version of Justice Alito's opinion. For those opposed to abortion rights, it was a day of victory and vindication.
We've been working on this for actually more than 50 years before Roe v. Wade, working to protect unborn children. We have certainly in the pro-life movement a lot of support and programs, centers, pregnancy centers that will help women.
In dissent, Justice Stephen Breyer, joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor, sounded a somber warning. With sorrow for this court, but more for the many millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental constitutional protection, we dissent. President Biden addressing the nation, saying it is a sad day for the court and for the country.
The court has done what it's never done before. Expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans.
Former President Trump taking credit for recent conservative Supreme Court decisions because I delivered everything as promised, including nominating and getting 3 highly respected and strong constitutionalists confirmed to the United States Supreme Court. And now with this ruling, 13 states could enact their so-called trigger laws outlawing abortion after Roe is gone. So far, 7 states have put their bans in effect. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi calling the court's ruling cruel and heart-wrenching.
This is deadly serious, but we are not going to let this one pass. A woman's right to choose reproductive freedom is on the ballot in November.
In his opinion, Justice Alito insisted that this ruling applies only to abortion. The reason is that the court used to overturn Roe versus Wade could be used to go after other rights, and Justice Clarence Thomas said it should. He wrote his own opinion, and he called on this court to reconsider the cases that establish a right to purchase contraceptives, a right for gay people to get married, even a right for private sexual contact.
All right, Terry, thank you. We move now to the reaction to this ruling across the country, with several states immediately moving to put abortion bans into effect. ABC's Stephanie Ramos joins us from Jackson, Mississippi, with more on that. Stephanie, good morning.
Hi there, Whit. We are outside the only abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi. They tell us they'll be able to stay open for about another week and a half, and then they'll be forced to shut their doors. Overnight, thousands taking to the streets across the country protesting the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, from New York to Los Angeles. Many still in shock following the decision, even after the leaked draft opinion indicated the historic reversal. Some with emotions of joy.
This is a monumental moment for all of us that have worked so many years on pro-life activity legislation. It's amazing.
And rage. At an abortion rights rally in Iowa, a truck charging into a crowd, injuring one protester.
I look over, I see people trying to push the truck back, and I just instantly got mad and ran over and tried to stop the truck.
In Arizona, authorities using tear gas to disperse protesters near the state capitol building in Phoenix. The Supreme Court ruling in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization clears the way for states to reshape abortion law in this country. Now, with Roe overturned, about a dozen Republican-controlled states with so-called trigger laws would make abortion illegal almost immediately, and more could follow quickly. This is the only abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi, and it's at the heart of the Supreme Court decision. Volunteers worried about how the ruling will affect women seeking its services.
They'll either be forced to give birth to an unwanted pregnancy, or
And we were there as anti-abortion rights demonstrators turned some women away, telling them the clinic was closed, even though it isn't yet. Groups plan to prescribe abortion pills along borders of restrictive states. The group Just the Pill and Abortion Delivered has vowed to deploy a fleet of mobile clinics along the borders of states that impose restrictions. But for now, protests are planned across the country. DC police ramping up staffing in anticipation of more of these demonstrations.
The Department of Homeland Security says they are on alert for domestic violent extremists following the court's decision. As you can see, it is calm now outside this clinic here in Jackson, but I can tell you soon after that decision was made yesterday, it was contentious out here between clinic workers and anti-abortion rights activists. Janae.
And we'll likely see that for a long time to come. Stephanie, thank you so much. And for Mississippi, now back to Washington, where President Biden is responding to the Supreme Court's historic ruling, saying the battle isn't over. ABC's Mary Bruce joins us now with more on what the White House is promising to do, though Mary, the steps the president can take are limited. Good morning to you.
They are, Janae. Good morning. And the president calling this decision a tragic error, saying it will put women's lives at risk. And he is vowing to do what he can here, announcing steps to defend women who may travel to other states to get an abortion and to try and ensure that the abortion pill is still readily available. Now, there are other possible steps he could take, some more drastic than others. He could declare a public health emergency or sue states at odds with FDA policy, or he could lease federal buildings to abortion providers or try and ease restrictions on importing those abortion pills. But the reality is that any steps the president takes are limited. He's acknowledged that. And of course, anything he does is likely to be challenged and could be locked up in lengthy court battles. And the president knows this. And this is why you're seeing Biden and Democrats already stressing the importance of the upcoming midterm elections. Because of course, the only way to really change this is for Congress to act, to pass a law protecting the right to an abortion. Democrats don't have the support to do that now, but they are hoping that could change in November if American candidates will back and support abortion rights. And that is why the president put it so bluntly yesterday that Roe is on the ballot this fall.
And it will no doubt be an issue that everyone is talking about for the election. Joining us now is ABC's contributor Kate Shaw, professor of constitutional law at Cardozo Law School. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. One of the things that a lot of people are talking about, you're seeing it all over social media, is this concurring opinion from Justice Thomas, which he said that the court should reconsider cases that made contraception legal, same-sex relations legal, and gay marriage legal. How much danger are those things in now that Roe has been overturned?
I think they're in a
conversation.
The majority opinion by Justice Sam Alito goes on
What he
to
says
say
is
none of those precedents on contraception, on same-sex marriage, on sexual intimacy are at issue here because this case is about abortion and abortion is different. But if you read the reasoning of the Alito majority opinion, it says the way to figure out if a right is actually protected by the liberty is to look at whether that right has been protected historically, what the history and tradition tell us. And in this case, Alito said, the history tells us abortion hasn't been subject to protection, and for that reason, we should overturn Roe because it was wrong. When you take the same reasoning to things like access to contraception and same-sex marriage, history is not going to provide a lot of support for legal protections for those rights. Those are recent developments. And so the method seems to spell, I think, real danger for those previous cases the court has decided. And that's just the inference you can draw from the majority opinion that Thomas concurrence you just mentioned is explicit. It says, in uncertain terms, the court should overrule cases guaranteeing the right to access contraception, prohibiting bans on same-sex sexual intimacy, and guaranteeing a right to same-sex marriage. So I think all of that
Don't have any legal money or
Well, and I think the big thing that a lot of people are trying to figure out is, what does this ruling tell us? We have this conservative supermajority. What do we garner from all of this that tells us how they may act in the future?
I think that they are
Anyway,
emboldened and not interested in proceeding incrementally, right? Just think about this week. We saw
They
the
keep saying
court
they do.
fundamentally change the law of carrying concealed weapons in major American cities. And now we saw the court overturn a 50-year-old president. And this is just the first full term that the three newest appointees, all President Trump's appointees, have been sitting on the court. So it doesn't appear that they are interested in proceeding cautiously or incrementally, but maybe, we'll see in the coming years further change, really fundamental change in kind of the face of constitutional law. So I think that the court is in some ways just getting started.
Google Pixel, el único teléfono hecho por Google. Porque cuando Google hace tu teléfono, tienes un teléfono lleno de funciones increíbles. Luego un día, sorpresa, tienes un montón más. Google Pixel con Feature Drops para todo lo que eres.
At Metro by T-Mobile, you can upgrade your adventure because we're giving you more choices with the largest selection of free 5G bundles from brands you love like Samsung. Switch now and save more. Only at Metro.
There, unbelievably heartbreaking stories, some good are humbling lessons. They would have it has never happened again.
This is about figuring out how to move from victim to survivor.
And when the detective says that's too abusive, I must have read that email 100 times because I no longer had to prove to people that I was abused. I was free.
You never know what you're gonna get on this show. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Yes, Whoopi!
This mic on? Can you hear me out there? I'm a secret.
Absolutely. That's what people don't see during the commercial break. Right. Do I have to? And I have no idea really what I was getting myself. That day that we walked out, I treasured that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Let's face it.
Behind the table. Listen wherever you get your podcast.
The June Mullarkey is back. And June Fest is celebrating 10 years with 30 weeks of prosperity, 47 years. All for platforms that federal reward. We know shorts. We know experts. As you get started in beta, we know you can't get enough. Shark Fest starts Sunday, July 10th.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
These days, with so much going on, it's hard to keep up.
While others are recapping yesterday's headlines,
We're bringing you right now. This is the busy morning coffee steel tower case with another story.
the right now look at the day ahead, how it affects you and your family.
Record high gas prices.
Threat of cyber warfare.
Is peace possible?
World News Now beginning at 2 a.m. Eastern, followed by America's This Morning,
America's #1 early morning news.
streaming here on ABC News Live.
The deeper you go into the black market, the darker the influences on National Geographic.
Law enforcement on alert following the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. Officials seeing a rise in violent threats coming from some abortion rights supporters and some anti-abortion right groups. ABC's Aaron Peterson has more. Aaron, good morning to you.
Eva, good morning to you. The Supreme Court opinion landed in a divided country, igniting years of building passion on both sides that police now worry could explode into violence. Demonstrators are roiling American streets. Police are warning them to stay peaceful, lawful, and nonviolent. Law enforcement agencies say there are already signs the Supreme Court opinion has motivated activists from both sides of the abortion debate to carry out vandalism, harassment, and arson. Potential targets include abortion providers, like this one allegedly set on fire last month in Wyoming, and this clinic that provides alternatives to abortion, gutted by fire in Western New York earlier this month. The FBI has warned locations like this they need to review security and be mindful that abortion-related extremism is real and dangerous. And that message could not have been any clearer when police arrested a man charged with traveling from California to attempt to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. In fact, a Homeland Security bulletin obtained by ABC News said judges and government officials are most at risk for violence. The U.S. Marshals Service told us they're reviewing security for Supreme Court justices, and we're hearing from law enforcement sources they're already seeing signs domestic extremists are trying to capitalize on the abortion debate by infiltrating protests. More actors are seeking to take advantage of this too by posting social media content inciting violence. It is a dangerous time, guys.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much. Joining us now is ABC News Deputy Political Director Avery Harper. Avery, good morning. Always great to see you. Let's start with the political ramifications here of the court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. How is this decision likely to impact the midterm elections this year?
Right, well, we heard yesterday from Democrat after Democrat, including the president, urging Americans to vote for candidates, Democratic candidates who will support abortion access. And there's certainly hopes on the part of Democrats that this will be a galvanizing issue. But when we look at recent polling, including our own, and we ask Americans, what are the most important issues as you try to decide who you're going to vote for? Abortion is not at the top of that list. It's matters of inflation or the economy. But now that we're seeing the rubber hit the road, so to speak, abortion, there are hopes that that will shift. At the same time, on the Republican side of things, there are many folks who are opposed to be a motivating issue because we remember that overturning Roe is really a product of the culmination of years of organizing. And when I heard over the reactions of lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, what I found is that there's really a desire that they so the time will tell how this will impact the election, but
yeah, so now that goes back, the issue of abortion rights goes back to the states. We've already seen some of the trigger laws that are taking effect. We've seen some governors sort of banding together. How are governors and lawmakers across the country preparing to address this?
Right, and so yes, you mentioned those trigger bans that have gone into effect in several states. So we know that there are women who are already being impacted by this ruling. There are lots of states that we know that are going to follow because there are lots of Republican states. Again, when I looked at all of these different states, how they're moving, they're going to move really quickly to enforce some of these more strict restrictions on abortion care. At the same time, we're seeing Democrats do the exact opposite. They are pledging to defend access to abortion care in their states, not only for residents, but also for women who might be seeking care from elsewhere. We saw in California, Washington, Oregon, those governors banding together saying that they are going to provide abortion care and also try to find ways to prevent women from being punished in their home states for seeking abortion.
We're expecting changes in about half the states across the country. Just shows how divided people are on this issue. Avery, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate it.
This is 2 lives for Harold.
Versus Jackson Women's Health Organization will go down as one of the most consequential Supreme Court rulings in American history.
Sammy must be a wit.
I've used this technique in many siege situations. It's pure torture. This will definitely drive them out.
You're the expert.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Cause your friends don't dance and if they don't dance, no friends for you. This boy. Miraculous! You can't walk in this support key. This world can look no one far behind. Spurts of flame, huge thunderclaps, and girdling rock formations.
Home is where you wear your hat. It will so break up. I want to go home.
Well, guy, where will you stay after next night?
Go to John Walker. They got tables. You're mistaken for some about eggs.
Cheer up, sorry, it was Friday, and I care package for me, yo-yo.
Gracias.
Thanks, Doc. Come for your TV. Too much juice. Another 10,000 kilowatts again this month. Beats me. I hope oversight will only use that much power.
Go on, take it. I don't need water. Going home with my over roster.
That's terrific, Doc. I'll make sure you get an early wake.
Take the right end of the train. Peace out.